For the intro to this episode, skip to minute 116. For the goal in Chat GPT, skip to minute 230. For the role, skip to minute 311. For practice and assigning a role, skip to minute 445. For the context list, skip to minute 715. For defining a target, skip to minute 818. For TSL, which is tone, style, and length, skip to minute 1143. For the outro, skip to minute 1758. To repeat the timestamps, skip to minute 0. For any other episode, links, or descriptions, go to the attached links from this episode.
You might have heard of the Ramsey Network that talks about Dave Ramsey's baby steps. Or you might have heard of the Entre Leadership podcast who talks to small business owners. But if you're a hobbyist who often makes money from your side gig, I've built a podcast series that helps you break down numbers and guide you through taking your ideas to the next level. I'll help you budget things like advertising, running a website, or building an inventory. I'll also help you build these systems one step at a time. Just click on the link or learn more to listen to an episode of Figuring the Figures. Let's figure this out together.
Alright guys, so I promised 3 bonus episodes all in one. This is the second part of that bonus. And we are going to talk about the format of ChatGPT in this section here. We're going to talk about the role, the goal, the context, and the ABA of ChatGPT. Now, I will split this into half since it's a little bit in depth with all of that information. For those of you who are just listening to the audio of this episode, I would advise that maybe it'd be best to go and view the video version of this episode through YouTube, as well as all the other previous episodes. It's just more useful when you can see what I'm doing versus just listening to me talk, because sometimes I get carried away and I forget to say what I'm clicking or where exactly I'm clicking when I say, oh, look, here or here. And I should try to be more conscious about it, and I will. But I will try my best as I'm trying to explain what I'm doing, and as I'm trying to, also figure out how to explain it to you. We'll start talking about how the goal is the most important thing, because all those other things are optional, right? So the goal is to make sure ChatGPT understands what we're talking about, what we're saying, and we use those keywords to be direct with our prompt, our request to ChatGPT. So, for example, create a blog post about personal finance. Direct, short, simple, it's a goal, and that's about it, right? We have some keywords in there that ChatGPT knows what we're talking about. So let's go ahead and talk about what's next, the role. So for the role of ChatGPT, so I said, I want you to write a blog post about personal finance. However, we can leave it like that and not include a role, but an example of a role would be, I want you to act as a professional business advisor, let's say, right? That is a role that I'm creating for ChatGPT to know how to talk to me, how to respond to me, and how to create its response. Now, there is a bunch of roles that ChatGPT can pretty much do for you. You might be able to even create your own, and that are not listed here. I do have a PDF attached that has all these roles that ChatGPT can do for you. For example, we have a personal chef, virtual doctor, a journalist, a yogi, an essay writer, an IT architect, a lunatic, a fancy title generator, a tea taster, a dentist, a life coach, a recruiter, a poet, a rapper, an advertiser, storyteller. Anything you'd probably think of for ChatGPT to talk to you as, you can pretty much do it. So that is the example of a role here and what a role consists of. We're going to try to do a practice here in the video on what it is like to assigning ChatGPT a role and asking a prompt for it, creating a goal for it. So I want you to act as a professional business advisor. I want you to write a blog post, let's say title, blog post title about personal finance that works well with SEO. Now, SEO is search engine optimization, meaning that when you put in keywords into your system to the SEO and people Google those keywords, you're more than likely to pop up closer to the top. Now, that is a whole nother conversation about SEO, but that's pretty much the basics of SEO. So it's going to give us good word structure for SEO. Now, I have learned also that I can create the Chat GPT to act as a psychological business advisor, I would say. But pretty much that is saying, hey, psychologically, you know what words are going to work best. Psychologically, you know what's going to work best overall. And it's going to give you a better response to like marketing and any of that nature if you're not already big on that. So, professional, strong, driven. So I said, I want you to act as a professional, strong, driven, psychological business advisor. That's a long role I gave it. I want you to write a blog post title about personal finance that works well with SEO. Absolutely, Stickman. Here's a strong SEO optimized blog post title for a personal finance article. Master your money. That's very simple. Proven personal finance tips for building wealth and financial freedom. Pretty straightforward, pretty simple. This title incorporates keywords like personal finance, building wealth, and financial freedom, which are highly searched terms, making it effective for SEO. Let me know if you need any more assistance or details. So very, very detailed in why it did what it did. And you kind of learn at the same time as you see what it does for you. All right, so now we're going to move into context. And in context, we're talking about more information, additional information that ChatGPT can use. For example, a context can be any additional information about my business or any information about my personal finance or any information about what I'm doing here, why I want to create this title, and whatnot. In the context, we're going to do a few things. So one of them is going to be defining your target. Another form of context that we'll work on is TSL, which we'll talk about in a later part of this episode. Then we're going to talk about format, and then we're going to talk about example. We're also going to practice on output template, so it'll be able to create a template for us, which will be pretty neat. And then we'll talk about task split. Now, I did say we were going to split this section up into 2 episodes, so you have half of that information in this episode, and then the second half in the 3rd bonus episode. We'll start from the top of the list, which is defining a target. Now, I've already asked my prompt. I can edit my prompt here, which I'll do just so you can see the difference of what response it will give me. But I said, I want you to act as a professional, strong, driven, psychological business advisor. I want you to write a blog post title about personal finance for young people who know little to nothing. For young people who know little to nothing on this subject. So this is defining your target. Your target might be somebody different. So that is going to create a big difference. And as you see here, it created something different for us. It said, Master Your Money, a beginner's guide to personal finance for young adults. That is working very well with SEO, and more than likely people who are starting, they're going to want to find words like beginners or young because they're just now getting into the game of things. So that's why it's telling me that it'll improve SEO optimization pretty much. It's going to help me get the best results with that kind of title for my specific audience. Now, of course, if I say write a blog post title about personal finance for experienced people who know a lot about this subject, we'll get a different result. So let's go ahead and change it to that. Now that we changed that prompt, our new title would be Advanced Personal Finance Strategies, Mastering Wealth Building and Financial Independence. It's kind of for people who have more experience on the subject and are looking for advanced information. It's one of a big keyword there. Another good example is like if you're asking ChatGPT to write an email, you can say for my boss, or for my fellow employees, or for my trainees or whatnot. So it's gonna allow you to cater more to that audience by giving ChatGPT a defined target to talk to. Now that's pretty much it about defining target audience or defining your audience or whatnot. You can always use ChatGPT to ask it how to figure that out with you. If you don't know exactly who your audience is, a lot of the times, and a good start would be like, I'm a 23-year-old entrepreneur who wants to do blah blah blah, this and that, and I want to create content that people I can relate with. So ChatGPT is going to take that information that you're a 20-year-old. You might want to include interests that you are into, and stuff like that. Just kind of like cater to yourself in a way. But from ChatGPT perspective, it's going to allow you to know how to execute your plan for your specific audience and pretty much for your avatar, I would say. And now we're going to go ahead and talk about TSL before I break this first section of the episode. And then the second section, we'll put it in the third part of the bonus episode. All right, so for those who don't know what TSL is, TSL stands for tone, style, and language. So with the tone, we can create a different tone in this prompt by saying, write a humorous blog post title or write a respectful blog post. Like, you can create all these tones by saying what you want it to act as, like in what mood, what tone, what not style, because we're going to get to that in a bit, but pretty much the mood, the tone, the attitude you want in the prompt. So if I say write a humorous blog post title about personal finance for experienced people. So the response was how to make your money work harder than your in-laws. Advanced personal finance tips for the pros. It's a little bit funny. It put a little humor in there, as you see. Whereas I change it write a formal and serious blog post title. Not funny at all. Mastering advanced personal finance. Strategic insights for experienced financial experts. Right? So you can definitely change the tone of ChatGPT if you ask it to. Now remember, if you want ChatGPT to do this in all of your responses, you can go into your settings and have that memory that you want it to speak to you in a certain way or a certain structure or a certain way. Then you can do that in the settings. Now I put a little bit of style in here when I said write a formal and serious, because I can say informal, which is the style of it, but serious title, and this is what it's going to give me. Mastering Financial Independence, Advanced Strategies for Savvy Investors. It's a little bit informal. If I say a very informal, Mastering Money, Advanced Strategies for the Seasoned Financial Guru. So it kind of like, not dumbs it down, but yes, it kind of dumbs it down when you use more words like this to make it more simple. Yeah, you can be serious or you can be goofy and very structured. So it's all depending on how you want it to write the title, the post, the message that you want to create. That's pretty much on style. We can use different examples, like I want you to write a funny letter to my sister, or a funny but serious letter to my sister, a funny but formal letter to my sister, a complex letter to my sister being funny but formal type thing. You can create the style around those things. I would say that be very aware of how you do this when you start a prompt, because it is going to allow you to cater to you. Like, you can create your own style or something that you really like, or you can create a style for your target audience if you know what your audience really likes. All right, now before we get out of here, the last thing would be length. So the length does matter when you're writing a prompt. You can create a very long prompt response, or a very short, or a medium size. As we remember, if you watched the first part of the bonus episode, if you didn't, but I did describe the difference on word count versus token count, because Chat GPT uses your tokens or their tokens to write your information or write your response. And we got an average of 75 words for 100 tokens. Now, I can say ChatGPT write a very formal and funny blog post title about finance for experienced people. For experienced people who know a lot on the subject, that works well with SEO. Use over 30 tokens to write this. So as you see, it gave me a longer title. I can say use over 60 tokens, and it gives a little bit more of a long title. Now, because I'm using title, the tokens are really not something crucial here for you to see. If I say 100, let's say even 1,000, let's see if it does something very crazy. And it did. So because I said use 1,000 tokens, it didn't just give me a title. It didn't just give me something very simple. It gave me something very long. And if I could have said a long title, it wouldn't have wrote all this for me. But because it is using 1,000 tokens, it's being very informative and very in-depth with whatever I'm asking it to do. So be aware of the length and the token use instead of saying long or short or medium. That's pretty much it on this second bonus episode. I'll catch you on the third part of these bonus episodes, and we will talk about ABA, the rest of the stuff like the output template and task split. Peace. All right, so now we're going to move into context. All right, so now we're going to move into context and talk to better cater to you.